think they will. I got everything except an agenda.
What'd you do, get promoted to the front of the class?
I need the agenda.
Have a little hair off your dog, glue that down. Hair of the dog that bit you.
Hey, Carol. Carol. There's Mike Soloway all the way in the back,
Where?
on the left-hand side, with the
I
big
don't know.
mustache.
I don't know him at all.
Okay,
I know the other one.
That's Mike Soloway.
Okay. Wrong guy.
I know, I think, he says they look the same. I don't know how he gets it.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. We'll begin with a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Merry Christmas.
Okay. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Supervisor Hawthorne?
Here.
Counselor Edwards?
Here.
Counselor Greco?
Here.
Counselor Abbott?
Here.
Highway Superintendent Moyer? And Deputy Supervisor Okanowski.
Okay.
Counselor Haggerty is excused.
Right. I'd like a motion regarding the minutes of the previous meetings. You had a chance to look at them?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Second.
We have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the previous meetings and accept them as written. That's November 10th and November 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll get right into a couple things we have to take care of. We are still negotiating with the Teamsters Union regarding the highway contract. So in the meantime, they have sent us an interim agreement regarding the health care, and I had our attorney look at it and approve of it. So this will continue the health care coverage until such time. Undoubtedly, it will be during the next, or the coming months, the new year, that we reach a agreement. Would you better read that resolution?
I'll make a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an interim agreement with the New York State Teamsters Council Health and Hospital Fund to endure uninterrupted insurance coverage after December 31st, 2004, until a new contract is negotiated and executed.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any, understand what that does?
Mhm.
You can't just have a big void there. Ruth, will you call the roll?
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Greco?
Yes.
Supervisor Hawthorne?
Yes.
Counselor Abbott?
Yes.
Okay.
You know why?
We have
Do it
put
myself.
an ad in the paper for fuel bids, as we do at this time every year. Ruth, I'll turn it over to you and Lynn.
Babcock Oil has submitted a bid for 18,000 gallons of, approximately 18,000 gallons of low sulfur on-road winterized diesel fuel at a markup price of .0775. They've also put in a bid for approximately 5,000 gallons of number 2 fuel oil with a markup price of .0775.
Both the same?
And for the 4,000 gallons, approximately 4,000 gallons of unleaded gasoline, the markup is .10.
0.10?
Yes. The glider oil has put in following bids: 18,000 gallons of the low sulfur diesel fuel at .07 for the markup. 5,000 gallons of number 2 fuel oil. Markup is .07. And the 4,000 gallons of unleaded gasoline, .07. The markup. And of course, they all go on the rack
Glider.
price of the day.
So Glide is cheaper. Glide usually always out to bid Babcock, don't they?
Well, the last couple of years it's been split.
It's
Glider
been pretty
has
well split. Yeah.
Lower on the diesel and the
Oh,
gas.
yeah.
Babcock was lower on the fuel, number 2 fuel. This year Glider is low in all 3 categories, so they both give us excellent service. I wouldn't have a problem going with either one, but I think the nature of the bid is such that we need to go with the lowest
The lower
responsible
bid.
bidder, so I would recommend going with Glider.
I'll make the motion, then we accept the Glide bid.
For all
All three
three of these that we, it
grades of fuel.
was diesel fuel, fuel oil, and
Gasoline.
gasoline.
I'll second.
Any
Dave seconded.
Any further discussion?
No?
I'll ask Ruth to call the roll.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Greco?
Yes.
Supervisor Hawthorne?
Yes.
Counselor Abbott?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, planning board is over budget a bit, so we need to transfer $450, and we can take that out of elections because there's money left over there. I would make that resolution.
I'll second it.
Ruth, call the roll.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Greco?
Yes.
Supervisor Hawthorne?
Yes.
Counselor Abbott?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we had another bill for a water line rupture on Route 48 North. I think the total bill was around $1,200, but that district has the money, but it was not appropriated in the budget last year, so we need to appropriate $1,100 from the West River Road North District. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
This is way down on 48, right? Not.
This is the water district on Route 48 North. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Just say that wasn't budgeted last year?
Right, because we didn't know that we've received several bills. The city has done quite a bit of work on that
City of Fulton's been fixing it.
water line this past year. And
And we have the money, okay, to cover it.
the district has not. It's cut drastically into their balance, but that's what they have to do. They and only they can pay for their repairs in their district. Ruth, call the roll.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Greco?
Yes.
Supervisor Hawthorne?
Yes.
Counselor Abbott?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. French.
Well, tomorrow's our final meeting, and it's a big one. It's on the budget. I anticipate we'll pass the budget tomorrow with no change. I don't believe there'll be any, I know there won't be any tax increase this year. It'll be a flatline budget. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to affect Granby because we're still not at 100% equalization, so a zero increase doesn't mean...
Should be relative, so that it shouldn't have an effect.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I was
Our
gonna ask-
rate is still higher than other people's.
So we'll stay the same on
because-
that. Okay,
so,
then next year our
you
rate
know,
will actually catch up and
If the
we'll go
county's
down.
rate, if other people's rate doesn't go up, ours won't either, because our equalization rate didn't go down.
Right,
It went
okay.
up 1
Okay.
point.
There's a couple of minor resolutions, but the big deal tomorrow is the budget. It's 2 o'clock, and
What are the minor resolutions?
one of them is to set criteria for legislators' benefits, what you have to have, what your minimum time of service is. I can't remember all of that. they're in the car, I can show you after the meeting. if you
What
want
are
to
they
see them.
gonna do about the people who retired from the legislature getting free health insurance?
What are they gonna do with it? I don't
Is that
understand.
gonna be struck out of that resolution, or are they still gonna continue to give the people free health insurance?
We're gonna set criteria that you have to have minimum amount of time.
It's been going on for years, it just hasn't been a resolution or a law on the books. What are they gonna do about giving the people free health insurance after they retire? Is that in their resolution?
If you meet that criteria, you will get it. The criteria was 10 years. If you don't have 10 years, then you won't get it.
When we broke the story about certain people getting free health insurance that didn't have the time and grade and et cetera, and they passed them through the back door rather than the front one, the chairman of the legislature made a promise that there would be no more health insurance for anyone who retires.
That's not accurate.
Well, I'm not
Unless they
saying
meet,
it's accurate, nothing.
unless they meet the
legislature is accurate.
criteria. No, there are a bunch of good and honest people down there. But unless they meet the criteria, they won't get the benefits. There's a few that didn't quite have the criteria, but there was nothing in writing as of, before the resolution tomorrow. That's why we're putting it down on paper, in law form.
But they know what condition the county's in. Why are they giving free health insurance to the legislators who retire?
That was a benefit that they had when they ran. You can't just all of a sudden get people to change. You know, you gotta go through steps. This is step one. You gotta put it in the paper. You gotta put it down in writing before you can make any changes to it. He's making the right move. He's putting it down on paper so that it can be discussed.
Are you looking for, or
How are you gonna vote on that
are you
resolution?
gonna look for down the road, maybe changing the thing?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
When?
The first thing you gotta do is get it down and accept it on paper so you can actually discuss it. There wasn't anything before on paper. I don't accept the benefits, you know that.
Yeah, there's 4 of you that don't, I believe.
Oh,
or
no,
five.
there's 10 out of 50.
Is there 10 out of
25, there's 10 people that aren't accepting all
Or
the
I know
benefits.
Now, the three people, three legislators that are getting health insurance without 10 years, I believe 2 of them only had 8 years when they got voted out.
Right.
Are
Yeah, I
they going to
understand
be
that.
eliminated from receiving more health insurance?
If they don't meet the 10-year criteria, then they're not going to receive health insurance. That's what the resolution says. Okay, I'm not naming any names, I'm just saying what the criteria is.
I think everybody knows who they are.
Well, regardless of that, I'm just saying what the resolution we're putting down on paper is that if you don't have 10 years and 55, then you're not eligible to, and 55 when you leave the legislature. We've got some young guys in there. Kevin is only 38. If he gets 10 years, he'll be 40. And he gets done, he can't ever get it. Unless he's 50, goes back in, get elected again at 55.
So the 10 years is retroactive?
No.
So the people that were in before the 10 years still get it?
As of 2001, anybody from there on has to have 10 years when they leave the legislature, okay? There was quite a few people that had years in as county employees and legislator and went on to state employees and back, and it got a little muddy. So from 2001 on is what the resolution
That's
says.
10 years with the county, not with the
No,
state.
no, not with the county, as the legislator.
Right.
That's it, period. Doesn't matter what else you got with the county, that doesn't count towards this. A legislature, 10 years serving as a legislator, not consecutive, just 10 years. I'm sorry.
The- That's okay. The 3 that have been receiving it illegally, are they off of the payroll now, as the saying goes? Are they no longer receiving benefits since they got caught up with?
Well, yeah, they're still getting it until we pass this resolution, and then they have a 30-day period after that. And then they'll have an opportunity for COBRA, whatever that takes. You can buy COBRA, I think, for what, 6 months?
18 months.
18 months, is it? Okay, then they'll have an opportunity for another 18 months. They'll have to purchase it on their own.
There's not going to be, excuse me, anything done as far as making these people pay anything back when they got this, like Ed said, through the back door instead of the front door?
There was nothing on paper. They didn't do anything illegal because there was nothing there to show. It was always, everything was assumed. And now we're putting it on paper, so we have something that we can go
It
by.
was never assumed, everybody always said it was 10 years you had to be in before you could collect.
That's right, everybody said that, but nobody could show any paper that it was written on. It was assumed 10 years. Then all of a sudden, when the state, and that's how it got muddy, when the state went to 5 years on the requirements for retirement, but to be vested, somebody said, well, you only need 5 years for the county. Well, I said, wait a minute, that's apples and oranges. What the hell does the state qualifications got to do with the county qualifications for benefits? And that's, we kind of went on from there, and this is what come out of it. You need to start someplace. This is a good resolution. If you read it, you'll see it's a great
All right, so
resolution.
the
I have it with me in
resolution
the cart, if anybody wants to see it after the meeting.
The resolution, if it's passed tomorrow, then the 30 days start tomorrow?
I believe so, yes.
And then they can go another year and a half after that?
They have to pay for it themselves.
But
Then they go on COBRA.
And then they go right off in it
That's,
entirely.
we don't have a choice for that, that's.
Then they go right off in it entirely, right?
Exactly, and well, no, he could run again, or they could run
Well,
again, or anyone could
true,
run
right,
again.
and
If they
that-
get to one
yeah.
more term, they meet the requirements.
If they don't run again after 18 months, they're off in it entirely.
Yes, well, after 1 month they're off it.
Well,
After 18 months, there's no burden on the county, because they're paying it for
But
themselves.
they get a break by paying it, by paying that anyways, because the county gives them a better break than the insurance company does. Quite a bit.
Possibly, we're self-insured, so our rates may be a little bit different, but yeah, that's the other resolution. It's gonna pass tomorrow. I mean, it's a good resolution. We need to get something that shows what qualifications are for benefits, so this doesn't happen again. And nobody, I don't believe anybody come in a back door. It was just something that one of our employees said, or was available, and they took it. But I don't think anybody really, no. We fixed something that was a mistake, is all I want to say.
I just have one question. You said something about if he gets 10 years in and he's not 55 years old, does he still get his insurance?
No.
No,
After he's done?
no.
Okay,
Even when he's 55, he won't get it.
okay.
He has to leave the legislature at 55. So if he
He
leaves,
has, over 55, he has 10 years
Exactly.
to get,
exactly. So if he
insurance.
leaves at 48, and when he turns 55, he has nothing coming. He'd have to run again,
all right,
which kind of beats up on the young men, but
it's not bad. It's not bad to the.
Well, thank you very much.
I have a question. It doesn't concern the town or anything. Mike, I presented my case to you people down in the county about smoking. Did you ever get an answer from Albany about that?
we sent the friendly resolution down and asking for the support.
You never got an answer?
No.
Could you possibly see where it's being held up?
Yes, just what, all it was is to show that we were supporting the people in the county that were having hardships from that law. And there was several of them.
Didn't you request any help or anything?
Well, it doesn't really work like that, Rose. You send down something that shows that we're supporting the people that are in business that are being, they're having hardships. We're asking them to look into it. Whether they do or not, we're little fish, compared to that.
I know how you feel. I do, I know how you feel. You just spent my money on people's health insurance, didn't have a resolution or anything for it. There's nothing we can do about it. The money's gone, that's my money. That's her money, that's his money. And nobody's accountable for it.
We fixed something that was a mistake.
Well, that means that if I become a legislator, and because you've set a precedent, and I start stealing, then, what I did, I didn't keep.
They weren't stealing though, Les. They didn't do anything that was illegal. We're putting something on paper that gives you guidelines. Before that, there was no guidelines. That was all assumed. So they did not do anything that was.
And I would say spending money without a resolution is not legal. That's, I can't get over our government. And I can't get over you putting up with this because you're a new man in there. You should be gung-ho about stuff like this.
Well, I was pretty adamant, I'm pretty loud at some of these meetings, but I'm not going to go off here. This is not the place to discuss it. I'm just telling you what come out of it. There's not anything there's no retroactive anything, Les, that we can do here. I mean, it was a mistake we fixed, I believe.
All right, thank you, and I'm
Thanks,
sure
Mike.
that as always, you can contact Mike.
Yep, I'll be here.
and after the meeting or whatever. These are county issues, and I'm sure that you do have some concerns, but I'd like to move on. I have some reports. Dog control officer, number of complaints 28, number of dogs picked up 3, number of dogs destroyed is none, number of dogs released 7, number of dogs on hand 2, the food was donated, the ads cost $6, the monthly mileage was $275. We collected $20 in impoundment fees and $25 in adoption fees. That's from Gail Kalin, our dog control officer. Assessor's getting busier and busier with STAR applications because the seniors are going south for the winter and getting that done before they go. Historian, I have a brief, I think I have it. Bring it in. This came in as a fax just late this afternoon, but she did indicate that she is continuing to come in on Tuesday nights, generally from 5 until 6:30 or so, or 7, and continuing to send information to the Valley News from that diary. That is really very interesting, and we appreciate that the Valley News is running excerpts from that. Planning Board, I don't know if we have anything going on. They had a meeting last night, short one. Zoning Board, I see our chair is here. Do you have a report? No business to report? Okay. Our youth director is continuing to come up with good ideas, and I don't have any. I didn't bring the schedule with me. There is something.
Christmas with Dickens Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For the kids.
Great.
When is that? I saw in the paper. I think it's next week. Next week, yeah.
It's a new idea, and it sounds very interesting. She's doing a very, very fine job. Highway Superintendent.
Well, excuse me, in November, there's been a couple accidents up on Honey Hill Road. A couple at Tannery Creek, where the road crosses the creek, and then at the intersection. So we've been doing some review work up there and changing some signs and making things a little bit more visible and giving a little bit more direction to drivers, and hopefully we'll make that a little bit safer. I happen to notice Mike Soloway, he does a lot of their sign work, happens to be here tonight. I just saw him, so I mentioned his name, but not to pick on him or anything. Still got some beaver problems up on the old state road. The river's so high now, I don't even know if the beaver are in there working or not, but once the river goes down, we'll be able to tell. And keep up on top of that. Same problem with trash around town. Picked up trash on Russell Road, King Road, Pendergast, and Cole Road. And we've got everything from air conditioners to deer heads to tires, but a lot of it now seems to be construction debris. People are just dropping it off sides of the roads. Finished installing the snow markers, and we also finished cleaning up some trees that they dropped late in the fall. And did some shoulder work, shimmed some shoulders on Wilcox Road, also some of the curves on Cole Road where we put some hot mix asphalt in there this year. Cut some trees on Stony Robbie and on Finney Roads. Did some drainage work on Germandale and on Wilbur Drive. And we've been repairing some of the snow plow turnarounds, make it a little easier to get in and out up at Whitewood and Royalty and Johnny Cake Lane. And the state asked for some assistance from us one day, the DOT. They needed a dump truck to do some drainage work, and so we sent one up and helped them out, and kind of needed to pay them back for snow blowing for us last winter, or maybe we're going to need them this winter, but we work back and forth a little bit when the need arises. And then I went up to Harrisville with another one of the employees, up to Viking Survey. That's where the new truck is up there now. They do the box and the snow plow, and went up there and met with their people and tell them exactly where we want the controls so it's set up so it functions the best for us, so we can get the best use out of it. That truck should be in looks like early next year, probably by the end of January, we're hoping.
Is that a one-man snowplow?
No, it's not, Les.
Good. You didn't expect that, did you?
Okay, moving on. Code Enforcement Office has given me a report for the month of November. I'll let David do it if you want to. David's our liaison with the office.
Building permits issued, 13. Fees collected, $1,860.55. Construction value, $316,600. Inspections, 31. Zoning complaints, 1. Zoning complaints closed, 1. Court cases, 5. Court cases closed, 1. Junk vehicles removed, none. Submitted by Brace Talents, Harold Babcock, and Bob Dalton.
Thank you. And it's good to have you back
Thanks.
on the road to recovery.
Feels good to be able to move.
Well, we'll try to keep this meeting short. I have submitted my monthly report to the town board members. All the accounts are good order. This time of the year, you start thinking about what has to be done before the year ends and what we have to be ready for at the beginning of the next year in terms of the financial, doing payrolls and so forth. There's quite a bit of activity that has to be looked into so that we can proceed in a seamless fashion. Ruth?
Very quiet, just anticipating getting the taxes in.
Okay.
And ready to go.
Let's pay the bills. Oh, I wanted to mention, before we do the bills, I wanted to ask you, just make sure that we have a consensus here. This year, back several months ago, the state sent a letter saying that we could postpone, or they did postpone the due date on the retirement payment. This retirement payment's a big payment, it's $54,000 or something.
Yeah, that was 50, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and until February 1st. And I thought, well, okay. And then we got a letter just recently saying that if we want to pay it December 15th as usual, we can get a discount of $520, I believe it was, if we pay it December 15th, which is our usual time. We had it budgeted, it's in our budget, we have the money. I am recommending that we take advantage of the discount and go ahead and pay it.
Right.
The only other side, and I did look into it, is would we lose in interest, and that would amount to $80 to $90 maybe, that we might be able to earn on that in 2 months' time. So the $520 offsets that, and then some. So is that all right? I put that in the abstract,
Okay.
and that's why these numbers are so high.
It's good business.
I think so.
You wanna read it? No, you're good. I'll second.
Need a motion to approve payment of the town bills as audited for abstract 121 in the amounts of $26,019.92 from the general fund, $49,972.02 from the highway fund, $84.47 from the Willabob lighting fund, and $1,265.24 from the West River Road North Water District Fund.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Ruth, call the roll.
You sound
Counselor
good.
Edwards?
Yes.
Counselor Crapo?
Yes.
Supervisor Hawthorne?
Yes.
Counselor Abbott?
Yes.
Okay. We will meet with the union again on the 22nd at 6 o'clock, an executive session, of course, followed by the work meeting, and then we need to have a reorganization meeting
Wednesday, the 4th.
at the earliest possible date in January. The 4th would be a Tuesday.
Oh, Wednesday, no good?
Well, what's wrong with Tuesday?
I don't know.
Is there a problem with Tuesday?
I just wrote down Wednesday when we talked about it.
Well, I would rather, every day, I mean, I would rather have it as soon as we can. The only reason I'm not scheduling it Monday is because that's court night,
Okay,
so.
yes, it's okay.
And that's an important meeting, so we do have to. How about you, Carol?
I don't care.
That will be at 7 o'clock.
January the 4th, right?
Yes.
Because the first is on the weekend, huh?
Now I would invite public comment.
I guess you spent all the money on the house.
Please limit it to 3 minutes.
Les Holmes, Sunny Hill Road, Fulton, New York. One more, back to square one here, Nancy. David, if I hold you up too long, you just feel free to go ahead.
I'm here for the night.
Well, I don't want to hold you up because
You're not holding me up.
you're not feeling well. My feeling is, if I want to talk about county issues while Mike is up here, and I've got him here, this is my town board meeting. This is yours, this is everyone's, but this is what we're here for, is this town board meeting, and to talk over issues, and the county has as much to do with the town as the town has with the county. So therefore, I really don't appreciate being hurried all the time. And I just have to tell you that, I'm sorry. Going back to when, Jim Best was supervisor. There was a group of us that got together and we didn't like the way him and the road commissioner were doing things, and we didn't like the answers we got, so we worked hard to vote him out. I started getting involved then in what's going on here. I didn't come as much as I do now. Now I come every week that I can possibly get here. I'm not particularly impressed with our ability to uphold our values and the way things are handled. You seem to think the administration in here, in the whole system here, with the exception of Lynn, seems to think that it's kind of sport to make the taxpayer stand up on his tiptoes. Mr. Hughes gets a ticket for putting a roof on his house, and nothing can be done about it. And if we as people want to do something about it, we have an Article 78 that can go to court, and it's long. There's just, and you know that there's nothing we can do. You know that in order to, the only way that we can change things is vote you people out. But we have to put up with you until the end of your terms. I do feel that our taxpayers' rights are violated in some ways at some of the planning board meetings, some of the zoning board of appeals meetings. I do feel the zoning board of appeals is as fair as it can be. But I think there are questions that come in from behind the scenes that makes them make the taxpayer come back and come back and come back. I think you could speak up and cure this a little bit. And I think that you could do it, Carol, as well as Nancy or Dave or Mr. Greco. The rules seem to be black and white in the zoning book. If you read them and follow them, I don't think there's a big thing about involving an attorney. I think in the past, our rights as taxpayers have been violated. And I think that the court And I was on the zoning board of appeals at that time, but I think when the Pryor Trailer Park went to court, I actually think that Mrs. Pryor's, I didn't know that at the time, but I think that her and her husband's rights were violated. It didn't seem to have anything to do with with actually what the rules were. It was Mrs. Pryor's attitude, and she can have a nasty attitude. Going on from there, I think that this coming year, that the projects that we have in front of us, I think we should follow up a little bit closer. I do believe that this water district was dragged out. I don't think it had to be dragged out as far as it was. We can blame it on the architect, we can blame it on the engineer, we can blame it on the DEC, we can blame it on the lawyer, we can blame it on Nancy, we can blame it on, but I think it was dragged out. I just don't think that it should have taken so long. And while we're there, with the West River Road North Water District, I think that the water line that was broken underneath the bridge should be paid for by the town, not by the water district fund. I don't think that this should be taken out of those people's funds. That's their fund, they didn't break the water line. I think that's fair. And I think that's up to you to make sure
It's
that's
up to whether it's legal or not. We're looking into that.
okay. I think that after the first of the year, I think if Nancy doesn't lead, Carol, I think you should step up and lead. David, you should step up and lead. Vince, you should step up and lead. You guys have got to step in and start doing more. You're here not to ride. You're here to. Your opinions are very. We need your opinions. We need all of your opinions. I do believe in not just particularly the county. In the past, I've seen this. If someone makes a mistake and like the county paid the insurance on those people for a number of years and paid it on people that really didn't deserve the insurance. And it was just somebody's idea to start giving those retired people insurance. The legislators didn't pass that or anything. I think there's someone, and things like that have happened in this town too. I think someone should be held accountable for dollars. I mean, yeah, in our taxes it doesn't amount to only pennies. In my taxes and your taxes and everything, but in dollars, it's like the fire department sweeping under the rug the fact that somebody stole money. We take care of it internally. I don't think things like that should be taken care of internally. I think they should be brought out in the open to have a more open government for the people. And I think that if it's brought out and a few people read their names in a paper, there won't be so much of this going on, and you'll have an empty hall here instead of a full one. Thank you for listening to me.
Anyone else?
I'm still waiting, Nancy, for an answer from you to my letter that I gave you at the last meeting on November 10th regarding the validity of 2 of our code enforcement officers.
Okay, I did do some research on that. There is a whole lot more to that than you uncovered. Apparently, it is a systemic problem. A lot of it has to do with the classes they took not being reported to the state. We're still getting the data together.
Do you
But
have the information?
one thing I did come up with, that I went online, got the same list that you had.
Right.
And
Did you talk to anybody at the Department of State?
I haven't, the codes officers have.
Pardon?
The codes officers have. But what I wanted to say is, this is not a Granby problem.
No, I realize that.
And you presented it like we're doing something horribly wrong here, and
I
we are
didn't.
not.
I didn't present, I presented you the facts I received from the
All right.
Department of State.
What I have determined in looking through the list of codes officers in Oswego County, just for an example, 16 of the 22 towns had the same problem. At least one or all of their codes officers are not on the list. So
Well, what
I'm
you're
sorry,
saying is-
I have to look at, for the most part, a non-issue. We are following up to make sure that we have better accountability, and I've asked the codes officers to keep track of their own classes so they don't have to depend on someone else.
Do you
And-
have the list of where they attended these classes? I know Mr.
We're
Babcock
working
attended
on
his,
that.
because the day he issued or gave Mr. Hughes the problem, he was on his way to his school then.
They, for the most part, Mr. Delton and Mr. Babcock have gone to the same classes. Mr. Babcock is not on there because he was newer, and he had to take the whole 6-week course, and that put him a year later.
Yeah, but he took his course this year in August, and he was on the latest list in November.
That
Okay?
list that you gave me was dated February last year, of this
I
year.
beg your pardon.
Read the first page.
I left it down there.
2004 list,
Right.
okay?
In the bottom of that paragraph in the box, it says, "This list is based on information entered into the training
Right.
database as
But
of February 1st."
Then I told you, I contacted the Department of State, gave them 3 weeks to research all the new material they had in. I gave you a copy of the letter back from Sam Ricotta, who handles that division, okay? And he researched that all, and he did not find their name anywhere. Now, I did talk to him again this week and last week, and he said there are going to be even more schools that the
Right.
people can attend this year.
That's one of the problems.
And there's going to be 60, I believe, new rules that will be coming out, over and above 40 new schools that people can attend. My concern, I don't care about Hannibal, I don't care about Downey. My concern is Granby. We have 3 code enforcement officers. We're the only town in the county that has 3, okay? 2 of them are not on the state's list. I didn't take this list for granted because I don't really believe anything the state does, except I had them research it. I gave him 3 weeks to research it. He sent me back a letter. Now, I call him every week to find out if there's been any more material turned in, because I had the same idea you did, knowing the state of New York, they were either behind like Hogan's goat, or somebody didn't turn in the information.
And this
Now-
information is turned in by instructors from,
That's-
you know
okay.
better than I do.
Now, the state,
Nesbach,
the Department of State, Mr. Ricotta told me that this happens, and I knew this happened, that the code enforcement people, when they attend a school, and I'm going to say they attend school B in Syracuse, I'm just using an example, that they should come back with a slip from their attendance of that school, and if they feel that it may not get turned into the state, they should turn it over to you, and the town should turn it in and make sure that it gets reported.
Well,
I
that's
don't think
what-
that's a bad idea at all.
That's the
That's-
discussion I had with them today.
right, that's what we are recommending, that, because we cannot rely on these other people.
Right, now the other thing that came about, and of course, you know, it can all be proven out later on, but the other thing that came about from Mr. Ricotta, he said that these people, if they don't get certification, still can continue on as a town code enforcement officer.
Right.
The only drawback to that, if they haven't attended their 24-hour course each year to keep the certification current, that if I was issued an appearance ticket of some kind, and I wanted to fight it in court, 9 times out of 10, the town would lose, because they don't have the proper certification.
That could be.
That's my only concern. I don't want to see us pay $1 for anybody,
Well,
you know?
Just let them know that all 3 of our code do
Yeah.
have their 24-hour.
Are you still
Far
going
as
to
I know.
continue to keep 3 code enforcement officers?
Yes.
Even though,
As
even
far
though
as we know.
the other towns
We have
only
not,
have 1, except one man handles 4 towns, Mr. Howland, I believe is his name.
I saw
John
him, yeah.
Howland. You're still going to keep the 3?
It works for us.
There's a lot of things that works for us that doesn't work for other towns.
Less cold.
New broom sweep.
Frank Fox, 428 County Route 3, Town of Granby. I just have a follow-up on what Ed was saying, that you are going to get back to him and say one way or the other whether or not that they've had their classes, or you're going to have some factual proof, written proof that they have?
They are, I'm not going to say how, when, they are pursuing because we want to know also.
Okay, but I mean, that's going to be resolved, right? One
Yeah.
way or the other? Because the only part I have with that is that if they're not, like Mr. Williamson said, that they could be trouble in River City, and theoretically, they're paying
We don't
people-
believe there's a problem. But
I can't believe there is that either, but I just, if there is, and we're paying
then,
people
that
we
the
shouldn't be
whole
paying.
county is pretty much in trouble because in the cities,
And-
there's
and,
like only one person on the list from
If
each city.
they're-
And there
take-
should
take
be
it-
5 or 6.
Take a scenario that could happen if they aren't
Well, we know,
certified.
yeah.
Well, beyond that, you have 2 code enforcement officers out of 3 that can't do anything because they're not certified. Say that happened. And Mr. Babcock is certified, and for some reason he wanted to recuse himself from or had to recluse himself from the process, then you'd have nobody to enforce the codes.
That's true.
If you had nobody to enforce the codes, who would enforce them?
I don't know. I don't foresee this happening.
No, but I
We
mean,
could bring a state representative in.
We could bring in a state person.
It would be,
Yeah.
a possible scenario.
We have brought in state people to help them when they have.
And lastly, the
difficult
only thing I
times.
would ask is that you have codes written in the book, and they should be interpreted the way they're written in the book, and not have this interpretation or that interpretation. They should go by what the statute says,
That's right.
okay? And if the statute says one thing, the code enforcement people should enforce that issue. If they don't, then there's going to be possible legal action, civil lawsuits, class action lawsuits. I hate to see that happen. The supervisor
it
should
is-
supervise, the town board should govern and ensure that these people have the classes, or anything else that's going on in the town should be right. Thank
Mr.
you.
Fox, Mr. Williams, you know that one of those codes guys that's his living. He works for the city of Fulton.
That doesn't mean that he's certified.
I think he would be concerned about it. He's
Well,
gonna
he's
lose his...
not on the list.
He's a plumbing inspector.
He's a plumbing inspector.
He's also,
Plumbing inspector in
he's
the city
also
of Fulton, not a code enforcer.
he's also expected to get the training as plumbing
does
inspector
both.
because that's part of the code. Yes, Rose?
Seeing that we've got 3 zoning people here, I have a couple questions. May I ask them?
Of them?
Yes, they can answer my questions for
Why
me.
don't you ask them in the appropriate time?
This is what a public meeting's for, Nancy.
No, this is for us to get our work done.
Okay, I'll ask you.
Okay.
When I was on the town board, and I'm not going to get an answer from you, Nancy. When I was on the town board, I was fighting for that half-acre land. Remember that, Vince? Remember that?
Are you talking about the
I
Island
remember
property?
well.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
boy,
It took me, I couldn't get help from you because you says you can't intervene with the zoning people.
No, I cannot.
You can not tell talk to the zoning people at all on what they're doing or correct them or anything.
Right.
You cannot.
We cannot intervene in their decisions.
They're appointed by this board.
That doesn't matter. The
All
state
right,
says.
okay,
If
okay.
I have a complaint like you had a complaint, I have to go through the formal process of an appeal.
I did.
I know it.
I
I would
went,
have to do the same thing.
okay, I went to the county, I went and got land surveys, I got everything. You wouldn't help me, Vince, you
No.
wouldn't help me, nobody, and this was wrong in this town, to let somebody build on a half-acre land, then overbuild on his grandfather's land. Okay, I'm not gonna get hot about this. I went all through the rigmarole. It took me how many months to get a meeting with the zoning board? I couldn't get a meeting, I finally got a meeting. I showed him what I had. Mr. Okaninsky, and it's on the minutes, he agreed that something should be done. So they said to me, and here's my question. You have to go to the code enforcer and make out a statement and write $75 to the zoning board, okay? And I did it. They agreed I was right at their meeting, and then all of a sudden, I get this check back, and they said, my time elapsed. I worked my butt off to get all this information, and the time elapsed.
That's correct.
Okay, now my question to you, this was wrong. I didn't fight it, I was tired of fighting it. Now that $75 check, he sent back to me and says, case is over with. Your time has elapsed. I did all the footwork. I did everything that this town should have done.
It's spelled out clearly in the zoning law.
But here's my question to you. Why does a taxpayer have to be charged $75 to the zoning board? Where does this $75 goes to?
Number one,
Where does it go to?
there is a procedure. When you go to zoning board, you don't just go in and talk. They have to schedule a public hearing. They send ads to the newspaper. I believe they advertise it for at least twice.
You should
Those
see that
ads
it
are at
comes
least-
out, you should see that it comes out of the zoning board's, funds that they've got. You shouldn't
All the
charge,
taxpayers of the township
you
pay for
should
it.
not charge the
You
taxpayers.
ask where the money goes. This
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
And
It
I'm
goes for
telling
the
you, you
ads.
shouldn't charge the people $75 for the zoning board to listen to their problems.
All, it goes for the ads and it goes for the special meeting,
If you could
which
take a
costs
raise, you could pay
$100.
for the ads in the paper. You shouldn't charge the taxpayers $75. That's a lot of money to charge.
Well, this
don't
fee
believe that's-
schedule's been around
that's
for a
not so-
long time,
yeah, that's
and I
not
believe
You
it's
should
it's
cut
by
that
law.
out because
It's not something, our idea. It's been
you
around
could
forever.
change the laws. This board can change the
We're
laws.
trying to go in a different direction and have the people who have a particular unique thing going on pay for their own instead of all the taxpayers paying for
You
whatever.
shouldn't, the taxpayer should not be charged to come before the zoning board to listen to their problem. The zoning board is here to help the people in Granby, not to charge them.
Well, Alex,
For a violation.
I will take that as your opinion. We are
My
doing it
opinion never
right.
counts in with you.
We are doing it according to,
If you want to change
the state
something, you
says.
can change it.
I don't agree with you, so I would not vote to
But
change
you
it.
could change the comprehension on Lakeshore Road to make that residential. You don't want that no more agriculture. You can change
We
that.
have not changed that.
Well, you tried, you're trying.
Go-
Nancy,
go away.
you gotta go.
I intend to leave, 1 year from now. Absolutely, no, and that's a promise.
$75.
Right there. Okay. It's the end of the year. And on your little thing, public comments are on the bottom. Your resolutions are on the top. It's time to decide, because I think all the people here would agree, that if you're voting on resolutions or discussing them, we want to be able to discuss the resolutions that you're discussing and voting on before you vote on them. Because it's not fair to us to sit and listen to you guys vote on them, and then we have to complain afterwards. That's not fair. We need time at the beginning to talk, besides at the end.
We will, and it is my opinion, it's up to the board, and when we plan our organization meeting, we will discuss this. I believe one public period of comment is enough. If you, I think, I wouldn't have no problem putting that first. I know the county has two,
Legislators have two?
that doesn't
legislators
matter,
have
that
two.
doesn't, we don't have to have any by law,
Well,
Well, wait a minute.
and that's tempting.
The two, the first one is to discuss the issues, the resolutions of the day, that's it.
That's right.
It's not public comment. Public
That's right.
comment's
That's the
after.
same thing,
Well,
same
no,
thing.
it's not.
well, you can talk about just the issues before, though. Afterwards, it's public.
Oh, right, I mean, they
Yeah. And it's
leave,
not like this. We allow them to talk, there's no conversation back and forth.
Right, right. And that's the way it should be. There should not be a big dialogue going, you know. People can get up and express their opinion,
You're
and I
saying
will
what?
listen to that, but don't necessarily yell at me and say, you don't agree with me, so, you know.
We're not allowed to respond down there.
Yeah, and we try not to. Sometimes it's hard to, I would really like to set the record straight. But I would consider putting the public comment period early in the meeting instead of late. But I would not consider having 2 periods of public comment. That's my opinion.
My first one is the public comment will only be on the resolutions that you're gonna vote on that night. And then at the end, it's just for people to voice how they feel.
There's been too much putting on a dog and pony show type thing that's going on for over a year.
It's gonna be longer, Nancy.
And,
I guarantee, if you don't compromise and give us taxpayers at least time to talk,
I bent over backward.
well, I
I've
guarantee
told
you,
you,
I'm gonna be even
Our
worse.
rules say 3 minutes. I've let
Yeah.
every one of you speak longer than that
Yeah.
tonight.
They're not your rules, this is our house. You don't understand.
You can't
We-
work for
You just
us.
don't understand, Nancy. This is our house.
You wanna
This
leave?
is not your house.
You're out of order.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
I'm sorry.
We cannot have meetings that aren't convened and run according to rules, just as the county has their rules. They allow certain time to speak, they don't respond, that's their rules that they set. We set rules at the beginning of every year, and you abide by them or not.
Mr. Holmes, I'm gonna ask a question. I wanna ask Mr. Holmes.
Excuse me,
Mr.
Nancy, what's a dog and pony show?
I know, let me ask Mr. Holmes.
We all know.
Answer me first, please, Vince.
Okay, go ahead. She means just probably dialogue.
If Nancy can't talk, Vince, do you have to talk for
No,
her?
go ahead, Nancy,
Thank
sorry.
you. I asked Nancy a question, Vince, not you.
I think you all know what I'm saying.
No, I didn't know what you meant, that's why I'm
Well,
asking you.
I believe
I've
it-
never heard the expression.
Many of the issues are brought up, I think, for the benefit of the reporter, for the benefit of the TV camera. And many of the issues, frankly, are petty.
I didn't. I brought it up to you, Nancy. My decision tonight was $75.
Some of these things, you could come in and talk to me before the meeting, but you don't. You wait and you have your meeting, you get it all planned, and you come in.
Who? Me?
Some of you, I'm not going to point specific fingers.
You know, we come and talk.
All right,
but
I think it's time that I think we've exhausted this discussion. We're not doing anything constructive, and I'm getting angry, and you know it, and
Nancy, one more thing I want to ask you. One more thing, Nancy.
Do I get a chance?
Wait a minute,
Okay.
Nancy.
one more.
Nancy, one more thing. I brought it up tonight because he had a...
I know what you brought
And
up.
they refused to hear him until he paid $75.
That's right.
So I brought it up tonight, not because of that or these.
I know,
brought it up-
I'm not referring to that particular incident,
Well, that man
but
was
there have been
refused
others.
to be heard because he refuses to pay $75, and I
All
don't
right,
blame
can
him.
we let Mr. French speak?
Yeah, because you're making sense, Rosie. Sit down and shut up, you're making sense.
Jesus.
Can I say one thing? There's a lot of friction in this room, there really is. You people, I know you have the best of the people in Granby at heart, you're looking at the right direction. I know these people have the best of Granby at heart. I really have confidence in them, I really think they do. You just don't always see eye to eye, but you're never gonna in government. The most important part of having a meeting, though, is to keep it orderly, keep respect, and keep everything focused, all right? Try to keep, in the spirit of the holidays, I think we all try to get along anyways. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas too while I'm up here. But I think it's important to be focused and be respectful, both sides. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, and I think you all have great issues. But we're all looking for the best of the people of the town of Granby. I mean, that's what is supposed to be in our main goal, right? And I know these people think, and they are doing it, and I know you think, and you are doing it, looking at those issues. So let's work together, let's not be argumentative.
You know what frustrates the people here as well as the people who go to the county meetings? There's just nothing that the little guy can do.
Oh, sure.
But Mike, wait a minute. There's nothing that the little guy can do, okay? We spend our money to foil stuff. You people just turn right around and dance it through another door and you make a new law and you still do the same thing. We come down there and we talk. You go right through and you do exactly what you want to do. When you call the State Attorney General's office or the Department of State or the Governor's office, you people can dance right along this line. As long as one foot doesn't slip over on the illegal side, you're fine. You can dance. And it makes the little guy constantly have to pay, either for an attorney to fight you or something else to fight you. You know damn well that you can say what you want about those good boys down there, and there are some good ones down there, and I'd like to believe you're one of them. But they're pushing that insurance through to cover Barbara Brown, Art Oswald, Clay Brewer, and the rest of them that are intending on getting out shortly, and they don't want to lose their free benefits from the taxpayer. That's what the people are upset about.
But we're not talking about that. We're not pushing anything through, but I'm just saying the
I'm
town
telling
meeting
you what's
here.
upsetting the people. It's the same thing here. They dance
You can
along a
speak
fine
tomorrow
line.
on that.
Now, I call and get opinions from everybody at the state level. The attorney, they tell me, I go over the case with them, they tell me, as long as they don't slip their foot over this line, everything they do is legal. What's the little guy gonna do that can't afford to go out and hire an attorney to fight you people? Because that's what it takes.
Well, all I'm saying is, we can call us anytime and talk to us about any issues you have.
Mike, I'm not here with this man tonight. I'm here
But
for
I just
the
felt a
people
lot
of
of friction there. I
Granby.
felt compelled to say something.
man's
And keep it
not
orderly
looking.
and you get a lot more production. We should have worked together for the betterment of the
But this
people
is
of
what
Granby.
frustrates the people, is they can't get anywhere.
Well, they kept a flat line. They actually tax reduced this year. The county kept a flat line. I'm optimistic we'll have a reduction in taxes in the county next year. I'm really hoping, working for that. So I think everybody's working in the right direction. I know it's frustrating and we're slow at it, but these people are doing a great job. Every single issue, I'm not saying you're gonna agree with everything they do, but they don't agree with everything you look at either. I mean, that's part of politics. Everybody has an opinion. Nobody's right all the time. And it's frustrating as heck, but you have to give them the opportunity to see what's the betterment for the people, not just a specific issue. The whole picture is all I'm saying.
I agree with you 100%, Mike, but there has to be respect on that side of the
Well, that's why I said I wasn't.
towards us as far as us towards them.
I think
But
there's
when
a
the
mistake
town
made here.
board talks about us outside to their relatives and to the newspapers.
know anything about that.
Read the newspaper, Mike.
I hate to do
Read
it.
the newspaper, that there's a conspiracy going on. Give me a break.
See, I don't read that. I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I apologize.
Mike,
But
Mike.
I think your mistake is made is
A
responding. Let
conspiracy
them
because
publish.
Nancy didn't get a raise last year. Her board voted against her raise. Not me, not you, not, Lee.
Right.
Nobody.
That's what I'm saying. You
But she tells the newspapers who's grandstanding, who's the pony horse thing that I never heard of before tonight.
Hug and pony show.
Oh,
But I just hope for the good of the
dog.
town, we all work together though.
Michael,
and
do you
we
think
show
we should-
But
respect to
how can
everybody.
you show respect, or how can we show
Both
respect,
sides.
Mike, when somebody is talking about us behind our backs, by name, and to the newspapers? How can you be respectful to somebody that is sticking a knife in your back when you walk out the door because you don't agree with them? God made us all different because we don't agree. I don't agree with Les 90% of the time, but I still like him.
That's right.
I
Okay.
don't agree with my husband 99% of the time, but
Well,
I
Merry
still like
Christmas, everybody.
him.
Happy holidays, okay?
This is an example. Walk away, Mike.
I think I got one more minute. You made the statement about coming to you or coming to anybody. I did. Back in April, I went to Harold Babcock. I said, pick with pictures, and said, this is a problem. Can't you take care of it? Well, here it is, December 8th. That place on Chase Road still has a bunch of cars they've moved. One junk vehicle, one. And he sent them a registered letter back at the end of August. And he still hasn't done anything.
Have you gone back to find out what the status is? You
No,
have
I
to go
sent
back to
wait a
him.
minute, wait a minute. I sent letters. He doesn't even respond to my letters.
No, come in
So-
and talk to him.
No, I'm not coming in to
All
talk
right.
to him because I already understand the problem with him. Gave all of you a letter last month, except for David. David didn't get one. David, If you didn't get one, I'll be sure to give you one, though.
I'm sure.
And I sent one to Mr. Babcock. Mr. Babcock can't answer any letters that I have wrote. None. So, let's,
We've talked about this Chase Road.
Yeah.
We talked
Yeah, I
about.
know.
And I apologize for losing track of it.
well, I
But
understand with
I'll
you.
I'll get back on it again and find out what's
Okay.
going on.
David, you've been
It may
sick.
be somewhere
But
in the
there's no one,
pipeline.
there's nothing, there's 3 code enforcers we have to have 3.
I don't know
I
what the
don't
status is.
understand why he can't follow through on his day that he's working, follow through and make sure.
The day.
I
Meeting
have
we
to
had.
I have to follow through on things that I have to do.
Right.
So I know that he knows he hasn't followed through.
I don't know if he has or not.
Well, I believe he hasn't.
I'll find out.
Okay.
One more?
Yeah, please, thanks. Good evening, everyone, audience. I agree with Mike. A little history on myself. I've been up here with my family about 10 years now. Mr. Greco was kind enough to help me through the process, if you will,
Thank you.
with an errant dog that we had living next door to us. And it was a long and aggravating situation, and Vince
Over a
can
year.
attest to that. It took months to have this person rein in their barking dog. They had it out on a leash all day, all night. It ruined our daughter's graduation party. But I'm here to tell you that I followed the process, and it worked. And I remember Gail calling, coming out to our house several times, and she said, this isn't a light switch. It's not going to go on, and it's not going to go off. It's a difficult, long process. We didn't have to get an attorney, but I listened to her. We put a dog log together. Now, if you didn't think that was foolish, I'm sitting there going, okay, 905. Did that for months. I guess what I'm trying to say is it worked. I think the people work hard. This board, I know, does. I know we do, and thank you for the vote of confidence for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Lee and Fred and I, and the other 2 guys, we put a lot into these decisions, and we have to follow a process. Otherwise, we're going to be in front of people asking questions. It's the law, it's the process, and I ask that you have faith in us. Was it up in Auburn where the counselors were rolling around on the floor in an argument? God forbid something like that ever happened. That's disgusting. But as Mike said, there's friction. I mean, you can feel it. I don't come to these meetings very often, got enough on our own zoning board, but it's a fine line. I just want to say, let's all keep our cool and let's all work together, and as Mike said, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Is that it?
I want to make something, not going to make people happy with the holiday. I got the impression, me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else, that most of you people out there that are coming to the meetings do not want zoning, period. I say zoning, code enforcement, excuse me, code enforcement, because Mr. Williams has only told me he got 3 code enforcement officers. So maybe if you people out there and get some more, don't want them, maybe, I don't know if it's if the law, we'll eliminate the codes and we won't have nobody going around giving anybody tickets. But I think it's a state law and a town law to have at least one. But that's the impression I'm getting from Mr. Williamson and a few others.
Just to correct your impression, how do the other towns operate with one, out of 4 towns operate with 1 man, and they operate quite well. About the only town I know around that looks probably as bad as portions of Granby is Hannibal, and they only have 1 code enforcement officer. What I'm saying is, we got 3 of them,
Okay.
okay? We're no better off, looks-wise, or the way they go out and handle things that are, what they tell us is when we come in to talk to them, and I've done this from the beginning, what they tell us is, thank you for the pictures, you bring us the complaints, we'll go out and look at it. Now, if we got 3, why should I, or her, or him, have to do their work? Now, if they're here for 3 hours a day, I believe is what it is per day, they're here from 9 to noon or something. 1 hour of those 3 hours will cover a fair amount of this territory if you're just out looking. I know David's driven around because he's come back and told me, and I know he has because he's told me the things he saw. But David shouldn't have to do that either. He's a council person. You shouldn't have to. Nancy shouldn't have to do it. She's the supervisor. She should be here handling problems with the town that come under the supervisor's office. I'm not complaining we got 3 or we got 1. I'm saying we're no better off with 3 than we are with 1. And if I have to bring the complaints into them, at least they should have the decency when they go out and they come to your house. I see 3 unlicensed vehicles in your yard. I come in and I tell any one of the 3 officers. He comes down to your house, oh, Ed Williamson saw 3 vehicles in your yard, and now he's allowed to complaining at you. They shouldn't do that. They should go down and they should say, look, I see you've got 3 vehicles here. The code enforcement law says 2. We'd like to have you get rid of 1, and you got 30 days to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I agree with that 100%. But this has been going on for at least 3 years. And this thing on the Chase Road that Cheryl was talking about, I saw the pictures and I saw the cars. And this guy doesn't have a permit from the town or an approval for a junkyard, and that's what it is. And he put a wooden fence up there, and now I understand the comment
that's
made
not
by
right.
Mr. Babcock was out of sight, out of mind. That's not what they should be doing. They should be doing what they're paid to do and what Nancy expects of them. Nancy, I agree a lot with what Nancy said. Nancy shouldn't really have to take the brunt for what those people don't do. However, she is the supervisor, and if she gets legitimate complaints, she should look into it, just like she's doing with the letter I submitted to her from the state.
She says she doesn't have the right to.
She is the supervisor.
She just said she doesn't have the right.
We're talking something else,
She's-
Rose.
She's the supervisor. She has a right to go in and ask a question, the same as we would have the right. And as supervisor, she has the right to say to him, I wish you'd pay a little bit more attention to what you're doing. She has that
Right
right.
to fire them.
She has the right to release them.
She has the right to release him if she wants to.
I do not have
I think
only as.
Dave wants
vote on
As the board, yes, as the board.
All
The
right.
problem with, you're right, zoning, there should be no such thing as zoning, or if you have zoning, you uphold the zoning rules equally amongst everyone.
But I misspoke, I meant the codes. I got the impression nobody wants these codes people out bothering them. And he just corrected me, Mr. Williams corrected me.
It's
And
not,
it is required by the state.
the code enforcers are a good thing. They standardize the building process. They standardize most everything, if they have the knowledge. Now, they are not set up, and we talked about this about 3 meetings back or so. They're not set up for the homeowner to come in and say, I'm putting in a footing. What do you require for footing? There should be a mimeograph, copy piece of paper that shows your footing with a re-rod in it, so wide, so deep. It doesn't take much, but you hand that to the homeowner, he knows what to put in for a footing. You shouldn't have to rely on somebody coming in with a backhoe, and the guy says, well, I don't know what I gotta have for a footing here. Or, he puts in the footing, and he gets it ready to pour, and the code enforcement comes and says, oh, that's not right, it's gotta be wider than that, or it's gotta be deeper than that. Am I right or wrong, Mike? You're into this, you know what I'm talking about here. When some towns you go into, and they'll give you a plan. Other towns are like this one, and they'll say, well, what are you planning on doing? A lot of them are old farmers. A slab's good enough for them. Town to town, it's different towns, it's the way they operate. But you can't treat everyone different, and that's what they do. It's all right for this guy over here to put in a driveway and throw a sluice in and cover it up. But if you want to put a sluice in there, you gotta come down to the town and get a permit, and I don't even know whether we have to do that or not. But years ago, the town used to put in a sluice and give you a load of gravel. They don't do that anymore, do they? I've seen you do it.
Mr. Holmes, I want to interrupt you for a second.
Yes.
You get down here to the codes office during the day, even if they're not here, and I'm just going to pick an arbitrary number. I think there's anywhere from 10 to 14 different setups for building, and they got a whole packet for each one. I'll take a garage. If you're going to build a garage, and you go in, I want to build a garage, I don't know what to do. There's a whole packet like Mr. Edwards hands out. This will tell you what you gotta have. You as a homeowner, hey, oh, I gotta get this, and I'll go to a contractor like you, and I gotta get the information. Now I come back with the information from my contractor. He's gonna build a 14 by 80 or whatever it is, and I go back to the codes, and he looks it over, and off we go.
Well, they don't have it on a footer, though.
Well, if you have some good ideas like that, and maybe there's some certain things that frequently crop up as a problem, I'm sure they would entertain your suggestions. They can't do it with every item of the code because there's just too many items. Now,
Okay.
Their job is to be inspectors, not instructors. And people come in and they'll say, well, I know how to do this. And so you take them at their word. And then maybe you find out afterward they don't. So it's pretty hard to make that determination of how much instruction do I have to give to this person.
3 or 4 years ago, we didn't even have any of those things that I just
Oh,
mentioned.
and none of it.
None of it. We had a guy that spent the time and the energy and research and come up with these packets for all our residents. Yeah, I'll say, like I said, I was gonna build a garage, I don't know what to do. So I go to a contractor who could do it. Hey, probably go to almost Mike here, and say, hey, I'm gonna build this garage. Oh, okay, good. And I come back and get my permits and so on. I think, Nancy just said it, go down there someday and tell them, hey, come up with something for footers, I guess.
You got a 2-story garage on County Route 8. It's got a gambrel roof. It was built about 2 years ago. It doesn't have a foundation underneath it. It's got a 3-inch slab. I saw it. I saw it built.
I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yeah, well, I'm telling you.
Because our buildings inspectors didn't.
Your building inspector inspected it.
He did inspect it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I can go on with a number of things. I can go on. But it's over with. It's done. It's something that you've got to address now on ongoing. There's no sense going in the past.
Right, 2 years ago or whatever, it doesn't matter, right. You're absolutely right.
It's something that you've got to look into now. I don't know anything about your garage, plans for a garage. Last I knew, plans for a garage, you have to buy them from an architect. I don't know.
I'm just saying they got what you gotta do down, they got a whole bunch of packets. As a homeowner.
The only thing I've got is I got the building codes on what you got to have for,
They have the codes and they have 6 weeks of training, full-time training, plus additional training. And I have to trust that most of the time,
you have to trust, that's right.
most of the time, they know how
That's
to
right.
advise people. If people ask them, and people do, they'll call up and say, I'm not sure what you're expecting. They're very, very helpful. But sometimes...
I'm sure they're a lot more helpful now than they were before.
I think probably.
I think they are. But what I'm pointing out is that you have to treat everyone equally. And you
And I
have
think they
to.
try hard to do that.
And I don't think they have been. I think Brace Talents has. I think Dalton, I think he has. But I don't think Harold has. I really don't. And it's not me. He treats me well. He treats me too well. So.
Well,
He likes you, right?
Just one comment on that, Les. We have been working on trying to be fair and consistent. It's one of the things that we meet once a month, and that's one of the things that we hammer on every month is trying to, and it's tough to do, but we are working on it. It's not like we're shunning it.
I think that job...
Every month, we talk about consistency and fairness and trying to go by the books and interpretations of what they read, and it's going to take some time.
extremely
Well, I guess what I want to say is,
difficult job.
I don't want to be here every month either.
Understand.
I don't really want to be here. I got better things to do. But I feel that I really do feel that this town is goofed up. And I feel our county's goofed up. And I feel that we missed out $1.5 million on St. Luke's. And I feel that, I really don't feel we wasted a lot of money here. But I think you've taken credit for holding the line on tax when I think that maybe we could have lowered it a little bit. And I think the county could have lowered it a little bit too. Now I'll shut up, Frank. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to
Thank you.
everybody. Mike, I think you started off right this year down the county, and keep up the good work, and maybe next year we'll solve a lot of problems that we still have there, and we'll get a negative tax thing. To address Vince's comment, I don't know how you interpreted what was saying, Vince, but code were set up in the town of Granby, the building codes and the zoning codes for the protection of the residents of the town of Granby.
I know that.
The only question that sometimes appears to be happening is that the code people don't go out and look and see where, and check and look at the violations. And they drive past violations and they don't seem to see them, okay? If they see a violation, they should act on it. They should go out and drive around a little bit and look. And the codes should be enforced equally and written as written. If it says one thing, they have to be enforced that way. Just because someone has got a variance or something and put something in, or somebody interprets, one of the code people interprets something a little bit different, that shouldn't be. Interpretation, the code should be enforced as the code is written. If the code is wrong, then you should change it. You
I
know?
would just make one comment related to that, and I can't remember where it is, that I could probably find it in one of the state manuals, indicates that no, and they were talking about zoning laws, and I think that's what you're talking about. The code, the building codes are pretty specific. The zoning laws, it said nobody has a zoning law that isn't difficult to interpret. It's impossible to write one that is going to be universally, completely, consistently interpreted. And so that's what we're up against, and it's difficult. We want to make some changes in the zoning law because there are areas that are fuzzy, that really need to be spelled out better. Well, that's what I'm saying. The zoning law is one of those books, and it's impossible to not have variations in how it's interpreted. Now, we're going to, and I went to a class on this just last week about amending zoning, and they pointed out the same thing, and they said, you know, you will have provisions that are outdated. You will have provisions that nobody understands, and this is all over. Everybody has the same problems. And so that's what you're always trying to get a little better to make progress in terms of getting rid of these problems, but they're not going to go away overnight.
Nancy, and I
Yes,
give you a for instance here, we'll just go. If the zoning book says you can only have 2 signs on your business, 2 signs, and if you have 10, 11 signs, how can that be misinterpreted?
I don't know that it has been.
Okay.
So you can throw that out, but I don't know what that means.
The answer is it can't be misinterpreted.
You know,
How can it be?
You have to pay $75.
there is a definitions of signs, et cetera, and there's this type of sign and that type of sign. I am not the expert on it.
Right, Nancy?
Pardon?
You gotta pay $75 to find out.
The, now I lost my, I guess it's not important. Are we ready?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that, I look out across the crowd here, a number of you sent cards and fruit baskets and flowers, and I really, and the board, I appreciate your support. One of those things that's tough to swallow, but I got operated on the 11th and got a pathology report back on Friday, and no signs of cancer, no chemo, no radiation, so
Well, we're just happy that you're okay.
thank you.
Very thankful.
I make a motion, we adjourn. I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
Oh, Tom, I go by twice a week down Henrysville Road. It's a junkyard. Twice a week.